On the way home with my husband Ethan for the Chinese New Year, we encountered an accident. When I opened my eyes again, we had returned to before we started dating. In our previous life, we were married for 7 years, treating each other with respect like guests, but he refused to give me even one child. Later, I learned that my husband could never let go of his first love in his heart. After rebirth, I decided to fulfill his wish. We silently deleted each other on WeChat, kept our distance, and chose different paths in life. 7 years later, he became a top stock trader and officially announced his relationship with his first love Yara at a class reunion. Seeing that I was still single, he couldn't help but tease, "Sylvia, I know in both lives I am your greatest love, the most presentable man, but you don't have to wait for me so bitterly." I ignored him and took my son's hand. Ethan's face immediately turned pale, his eyes bloodshot as he questioned, "Didn't you say you would love me for a lifetime and only bear children for me?" I met Ethan again at the class reunion 7 years later. I had just finished several surgeries, too tired to dress up, and went straight into the banquet hall. Ethan stood in the middle of the crowd, holding Yara's waist, enjoying the compliments from everyone. "Ethan, you're amazing. You've only been in New York's Wall Street for a few years, and you've become the most promising trader. You're truly the pride of our city #1 middle school." That's right, I heard that those celebrities on Wall Street even pay to invite Ethan to dinner, and the consulting fee alone is nearly hundreds of thousands, which is an ordinary person's annual salary. "Ethan, I've been trading stocks recently too. I hope you can give me some insider information for old classmates' sake and take me flying." Someone in the crowd curiously asked, "Ethan, are you getting engaged to Yara?" Ethan looked tenderly at Yara in his arms. "Yes, we're getting engaged on December 20th. The surrounding crowd erupted in congratulations again. An old classmate asked, "Ethan, do you still keep in touch with Sylvia? You two had such a passionate romance back then, and I heard your first song was sung for her." Upon hearing my name, I noticed Ethan's smile immediately froze, his eyes slightly narrowed. Yara, standing beside him, smiled slightly and answered gracefully. "Look at you, Ethan and I are about to get married. Childhood hobbies don't last, and neither does young love. He's long since let go of Sylvia." Everyone laughed and continued to compliment how well matched the two were. But I knew that song was personally written by Ethan when he confessed to me. In our previous life, we had a campus romance, falling in love at first sight. He once said to me with a sincere face, "Sylvia, look into my eyes. I like you, eyes don't lie." I believed him. Unfortunately, in the previous life, he still lied. With a calm expression, I walked into the banquet hall, and a sharp-eyed classmate spotted me. "Sylvia, why are you so late? Why did you come in casual clothes without changing into something formal? You didn't just get off work, did you? Where are you slaving away? We have successful classmates here, let them introduce you to a job, something easier." Seeing my attire, many people around mocked me. I didn't mind, smiled, and maintained basic decorum. From the moment I entered the venue, Ethan's gaze never left me. I politely said, "Long time no see." Ethan was slightly stunned, his eyes dark and unclear, then he sneered, "Sylvia, after all these years, you haven't changed at all, still lacking ambition." Yara looked at me with venomous eyes. She deliberately tightened her hold on Ethan's arm, acting coquettish as if declaring sovereignty, and said in a whiny tone in front of me, "Ethan, how can you say that about an old classmate? She's living a bit miserably, but we shouldn't stab at her heart. Sylvia has suffered enough." She looked me up and down, her face showing sarcasm. "But Sylvia, what kind of outfit is this? It's neither here nor there. You're not young anymore, women should take care of their appearance, or you won't even get married. Which man would like a sloppy woman? Do you want me to lend you some makeup?" As soon as she finished speaking, the classmates couldn't help but laugh. After all, Yara was dressed in luxury brands, with exquisite makeup, refined even to her hair strands, exuding the innate noble temperament of a rich girl in every gesture. Meanwhile, I had just come out of the operating room, having not slept for nearly 24 hours, looking utterly exhausted as if I had lost my soul. I was wearing the most comfortable casual sportswear, no brand, just bought casually from a street shop, incomparable to her. No need to be polite, I don't need it for now. I replied simply, sitting down to eat on my own. After all, after high-intensity surgeries, I hadn't eaten for a whole day. As I sat there savoring the food carefully, Ethan suddenly walked over to me, wrote a check for 100,000 yuan, and placed it in front of me. This money is for the sake of our past relationship, I'm helping you. Be better to yourself in the future, change to a more decent job, buy some new clothes, learn to love yourself. Sylvia, the past is over, don't dwell on it. If it weren't for you, never mind, it's not important. The important thing is not to completely lose your motivation for life and give up on yourself because of my departure, okay? I looked up puzzled at Ethan. His unfinished words made me curious about what I had done in the previous life to make him abandon me without hesitation after rebirth. In the previous life, we went from school uniforms to wedding attire. He had his own music dream, and I wanted to study medicine. Both were pursuits that consumed money and energy. Naturally, one person had to sacrifice. Because I loved him, I resolutely gave up the opportunity to pursue graduate and doctoral studies in medical school, started working early, and supported both our dreams with one person's income. He failed time and again, felt frustrated repeatedly, and became decadent over and over. And I, like his never-ending power bank, patiently comforted his emotions every time I returned home exhausted. I thought he would understand my love. Unexpectedly, when he wanted to buy a new guitar again and I refused due to insufficient funds, he smashed the guitar in a fit of rage. Do you know? If I had listened to Yara back then and accompanied her to study abroad in the US, I wouldn't have to live this hard life anymore. I really regret being with you. Later, he stopped playing the guitar and lost his dream. And because of his words, I really regret being with you, I often cried in the middle of the night. But I made one last struggle, holding him and whispering, Ethan, I want to have a child for you. He pushed me away abruptly, his eyes filled with indescribable disgust. With our economic situation, can we have a child now? Besides, I've told you before, I hate kids. I don't want to have a child with you. These two sentences completely shattered the last hope in my eyes. During the Chinese New Year, an oncoming truck ended our lives. At that moment, I wasn't afraid, only relieved. Now that we have both been reborn and chosen to keep our distance, there's no need to dwell on old feelings. I silently pushed the check back, no need, I don't accept things from strangers, thank you. He frowned and questioned me, Sylvia, am I a stranger? What do you mean? I replied, I can buy clothes myself. No matter what my current job is, I think it's decent, nothing shameful, and I don't think I'm giving up on myself. Keep this money for someone who needs it. He stood there holding the check, lips tightly pursed. Yara walked to Ethan's side, looked at the check in his hand, and seemed to understand something. Clearly, anger flashed in her eyes, but she still pretended to be gentle. Sylvia, you don't want our kindness? Then we'll give you something more practical. I recently opened a nail salon on Qingfu Avenue. You can go directly, and I'll arrange for you to be a nail apprentice. The monthly salary isn't high, but it's 6,000, mainly to learn skills. In the future, even if you're desperate, you can open a nail shop. How about it? Interested in trying? This job should be much more decent than your current one. I calmly ate my food and declined their kindness. Thank you for your kindness, but I'm satisfied with my job and have no plans to change it for now. Some classmates around shouted at me, Sylvia, why are you so ungrateful? Ethan and Yara are kind-hearted, giving you money and a job, hurry up and accept it. Exactly, you've ended up like this, what face do you need? You're so miserable yet dare to come to the class reunion, isn't it just to get resources? What are you pretending for now? Yara hypocritically chimed in, everyone, don't say that. Maybe Sylvia really likes her current job. She turned to me, Sylvia, this is our kindness, and for the sake of past relations, we're introducing you to this job. Don't miss the opportunity for the sake of face. I really couldn't understand this behavior of forcing money in jobs. Really don't need it, thank you. Yara still smiled very gently, but her eyes were full of sarcasm and disdain. Ethan clenched the check and sneered, a lump of mud indeed, even if I want to help, you can't be helped. You deserve to be poor for life. Right after this sarcasm, many former male classmates surged over, wanting to force me to drink. Sylvia, seeing how pitiful you are now, drink 1 glass, and bro will transfer you 1,000. If you're really pitiful, I'll add more money. The men's looks were very lewd, and the classmates burst into laughter upon seeing this, with no one helping me. I frowned, feeling that this class reunion was far from what I imagined. If I weren't waiting for someone, I would have left angrily by now. Just as I was about to call security, Ethan, standing aside, suddenly stubbed out his cigarette and grabbed the arm of the man harassing me. His eyes were extremely cold, seemingly very angry. Behave yourself. The man's hand was gripped so tightly it hurt, and he wailed. Yara pulled Ethan's sleeve. Ethan, what are you doing? His face remained icy. Doing what's right. This is a class reunion, not a place for you to act crazy. With that, he flung the man away. The man didn't dare confront him but glared viciously at me. I couldn't help but look at Ethan, not expecting him to help me. Yara was grinding her teeth in anger but smiled. I heard that the young master and president of Tsinghua Enterprise are meeting in the conference hall upstairs. If we're lucky, we might see a city's richest man. Upon hearing this, the classmates immediately got excited. A city's richest man, handsome and wealthy, reportedly only in his 30s, already has a 5-year-old child, and his wife has never been revealed. Does that mean we have a chance to see his wife today? I must post on TikTok. This is first-hand information. Soon, a group of bodyguards escorted a young master into the banquet hall, and the crowd got excited immediately. This pomp, this must be the young prince of a city's richest man. He truly looks talented. The male classmate who had just teased me, though beaten, had no complaints and only dared to act crazy in front of me. Sylvia, if it weren't for Yara, a wage slave like you outside would never see the little prince of a city's richest man. If I were you, I'd kneel down and apologize to her now, thank her properly. Maybe you'll not only get a good job but also marry someone like me, with a monthly salary of 6,000. Crazy. I ignored him, calmly looking in the direction of the little prince. Everyone approached with flattering faces, desperately taking photos and videos of the young master with their phones. Even the aloof Yara approached the young master with a friendly, even flattering face. Little friend, is there anything you want to eat? Auntie will pay for it. As she spoke, she tried to pinch the young master's cheek. What no one expected was that the little boy, surrounded by bodyguards, ignored the adults around him and walked straight toward me. With a sweet smile, he jumped into my arms. Mom, you're finally here. The originally cold-faced young master, upon seeing me, showed a pitiful expression. Why didn't you come back yesterday? Baby misses you so much. Looking at my son running over, I directly hugged him, comforting him softly. Mom was working. I told you when I left for work yesterday. Tomorrow Mom is on vacation and will take you out to play, okay? My precious son Gu Yuchen quickly nodded, okay. Mom is the best. The classmates present were all shocked by this scene, looking at me with incredulous eyes. The classmates were just about to speak when a handsome man in a suit hurried down from the upstairs conference room. Wife, I heard from the hotel manager that you're here for the class reunion. Why didn't you tell me first when you got off work so I could drive to pick you up? The hotel manager stood aside and introduced to all the stunned people, this is our Tsinghua Group's president Adrian, who is also Mrs. Sylvia's husband. If you have any requests during the meal, feel free to tell me, and we will do our best to satisfy the various experiences of Madam's old classmates, to fulfill our host duties. At this moment, the classmates' expressions varied, some became extremely excited, while those who had just bullied me now had extremely pale faces. A few girls who were on good terms with me couldn't help but speak. Sylvia, your husband is actually a city's richest man, Adrian? Do you even need to ask? Didn't you see the hotel manager call her Madame Sylvia, and the young master call her Mom? She must be the richest man's wife who has never appeared publicly. Wow, this is true nobility. Facing the buzzing discussions of the classmates around, I could only respond with a smile. Adrian, standing aside, looked at my attire up and down, and somewhat heartbroken, pulled me into his arms. Just back from the hospital again? After the reunion, go home and rest well. I nodded and said, okay. Then, this outwardly cold man ignored Yara, who wanted to approach and chat, his gaze falling straight on Ethan, speaking with some disdain. You must be my wife's ex, right? Thank you for not marrying her back then. If it weren't for your fulfillment, how could I have met such a good wife? Facing Adrian's sarcasm, Ethan ignored it completely. Instead, he looked at me with a complex expression, his eyes even showing a trace of breakdown, questioning, Sylvia, is this your way of punishing me? How much did you spend to hire these two actors? I put down my son in my arms and directly took Adrian's hand. This is my husband, Adrian. The expression on his face went from initial disbelief, to shock, to pale, to dead silence. Perhaps the former me would have felt heartache for this man's every move. But he was right, the past is over, why dwell on it? I have a new lover, a child, the job of my dreams, and the happy marriage and family I couldn't have in the previous life. No matter how you look at it, I am happier in this life. Originally, Yara was the one who organized this reunion, but after learning my identity, everyone's looks toward me changed, from previously flattering Yara to now showing concern for me. It was just a matter of minutes. I didn't expect Sylvia to marry the richest man. Ethan just wanted to dismiss her with a check, now it seems so ridiculous. Yeah, thought the ex was doing badly, but she turned around and found a more excellent man. Wasn't Yara going to recommend her a nail technician job? I just heard Sylvia is the chief surgeon at a city's first hospital, seems very impressive. Where does she need others to introduce jobs? Isn't this funny? Sylvia, such a big thing as getting married, why didn't you tell your old classmates? We could have given you a big red envelope. Watching the old classmates who initially ignored me now trying to get familiar, I just felt it was ridiculous. But I still politely exchanged pleasantries, maintaining surface decorum. The class reunion hadn't ended yet, but I had already lost interest. Soon, my husband Adrian and I left holding our son. Just as we walked out of Tsinghua Hotel, Sylvia. Ethan chased out directly and called me. I asked Adrian to take our son into the car first to wait for me. After all, in November weather, it was indeed a bit cold at night. Adrian said nothing, silently nodded, he respected and trusted me as before. Ethan's gaze toward me was full of complexity and incomprehension. How could you marry Adrian? There was nothing to hide about this. When Adrian's mother was hospitalized in our hospital due to heart disease, I happened to be her attending physician. Because of the condition, we communicated frequently, and that's how we met. He appreciated my dedication to every patient and my high pursuit of professionalism and academics. Thus, Adrian pursued me decisively and efficiently. I saw his filial piety toward his mother, and I had a good impression of this man. On the day Adrian formally confessed to me, I asked him a few questions. Do you want children? Yes, I want children. Although I could say pretty words now, like respecting your own wishes, I want to answer you sincerely, I want children, my dream is a happy family of 3. I continued expressionlessly, will you stop me from continuing medical research? He shook his head sincerely, no, a person's true energy isn't all in the family, it's also in society and self. And I'm willing to support everything you want to do. Last question, will you regret it? He smiled, Adrian, never regret. From that day, I agreed to try with him, wanting to give him and myself a chance to start over. Later, we naturally fell in love and got married. The wedding was very low-key, simply getting the certificate and inviting acquainted relatives and friends. After listening to my story, Ethan in front of me unknowingly had red eyes. Is that little boy really your child? But didn't you say before that you only wanted to have children with me? How can you have a child with another man now? I was left somewhat speechless by his words and could only remind him with his own words. Ethan, the past is over, don't dwell on it, okay? There's no need to take the vows from the previous life seriously in this one. When we tacitly broke up, for both our previous and current lives, no intersection is the best arrangement, isn't it? Moreover, in the previous life, you regretted being with me and didn't want to have children with me at all, and I couldn't accept such a life. Ethan roared angrily, I regretted because you never supported me. You sent emails to those music publishers telling them not to include my songs. After hearing this, I was immediately full of confusion. What are you talking about? I don't understand at all. I never sent any emails. At that time, for your music dream, I worked 3 jobs a day, I had no time for such nonsense, and I hoped for your success more than anyone. Didn't you feel that in the previous life? As soon as these words came out, it was like a bolt from the blue. Ethan in front of me was immediately stunned in place, as if suffering a huge blow. He involuntarily covered his mouth, as if unable to accept this fact, and continued to question me. Then why were you unwilling when I asked you to buy a guitar? At this moment, I somewhat understood what Ethan's unfinished sentence at the class reunion meant. Do you think there was money left at home? When your father was ill, the family used almost all savings for the hospital. Do you think we had anything besides food money? Should we rob for a guitar? Ethan was completely desperate. He murmured to himself, impossible, Yara told me it was you who sent emails to those companies, so I never succeeded, because you didn't want to see me succeed, you were afraid I'd abandon you after success. If the events of the previous life made me feel disappointed and painful, at this moment, I truly felt complete despair about my feelings from the previous life. We were together for so many years, and a casual word from someone else can deny all my efforts. Don't you find yourself ridiculous? I sighed, my husband and son are still waiting for me, I'll go first. Ethan anxiously asked behind me, Sylvia, do you still love me? I shook my head affirmatively. The love from the previous life has long been let go, now I love my husband and my son more. I didn't understand why he asked such a question. After all, he had been saying that there's no need to over past people and things. And I had truly let go completely. Unexpectedly, just a month later, Yara's father was exposed for tax evasion, using cheap materials to build commercial housing, falsifying data, bribing local officials, and other crimes, making headlines. When I learned about this, I was quite shocked. The once aloof rich girl Yara appeared so destitute in front of the camera. Not only were all assets under her name seized by the court, but she couldn't even go home. And her father, due to various crimes, probably wouldn't come out of prison for the rest of his life. Besides their family, the real victims were those ordinary people who used their lifetime savings to buy houses, only to get shoddy projects. Upon learning this news, I couldn't help but sigh, this is really too much, doing business without conscience. Adrian said pitifully beside me, wife, don't accidentally hurt me, I have a conscience. I laughed. Adrian has always adhered to making products with the highest cost-performance ratio. All products, hotels, and real estate under his name use the best materials and are sold at the lowest prices. That's why the company has grown bigger and gained more fame. If you respect consumers, they will naturally reward you. But like Yara's father, using deducted material costs to make money, disregarding the life safety of ordinary people, is simply utterly heartless. Not long after, I received a call from an unmarked number. After hesitating for a while, I still pressed answer. Ethan's voice came from the other end. Did you see that news? Sylvia, I reported it. I frowned, not understanding why he was telling me this. Then thank you on behalf of the ordinary people. Ethan's tone on the other end sounded very weak. Sylvia, I want to see you, is that okay? I responded seriously, I've said before, I've let go, you don't need to come again. Before I finished, I was interrupted by his coughing. Cough cough. Ethan gave a bitter laugh and continued, I went to the hospital for a checkup a few days ago, late-stage lung cancer. Sylvia, can you meet me? Hearing this news, it was like something in my mind suddenly snapped. I was silent for a long time before hoarsely saying, "Bring your medical report and come to my hospital to find me." In the afternoon, Ethan walked into my office, looking much thinner. He placed the medical report on my desk. I quickly flipped through his report, frowning tightly. "You'd better handle the hospitalization procedures as soon as possible and cooperate with the doctors for treatment." At that moment, I had no cases on hand. I accompanied him to complete the hospitalization procedures. Once everything was settled, Ethan's eyes were red, and he looked at me timidly. "Sylvia, I knew you wouldn't ignore me. You still have me in your heart, right? I know I misunderstood you before, it was all my fault. You were so good to me in the previous life, yet I treated you that way. Now I've figured it out, I don't regret being with you in the previous life at all. Sylvia, I know I was wrong. Can you forgive me and let us be together again? We can have our own child. Didn't you always want a child that belongs to us?" I frowned at him. "Ethan, I hope you understand that we completely broke up the moment we were reborn. Now I have a new family and my own child. I hope you won't say these things anymore." Ethan shook his head in disbelief. "You must have me in your heart, otherwise, why would you bustle about for me? How could our years of feelings disappear just like that? You're just angry with me. Can you stop being angry? I've already admitted my mistake." I showed a cold smile at the corner of my mouth and shook off his hand. "Because we had many years of feelings, that's why I came to help take care of you when you were diagnosed with lung cancer. If my actions caused you to misunderstand, I'm really sorry. You can contact your parents to come take care of you. Also, marrying you in the previous life was my biggest regret. I don't love you anymore and don't want to have children with you. I hope you don't live in the past. That past is one I don't want to go back to." After saying this, Ethan stiffened in place, his face full of pain. But I didn't care at all and turned to leave the ward directly. Ethan shouted loudly behind me, "All men in the world are the same. Do you think Adrian really likes you? Why would a city's richest man fall for an ordinary person like you? Wake up, okay? You can't be happy, and I am the one most suitable for you." Hearing these annoying words, I walked even faster. He hadn't changed at all from the previous life. When doing well, he despises those worse off. When doing badly, he envies those better off and even wants to drag others into the abyss. Such people are always regretting and never content. Everyone thinks I married Adrian by climbing high. But I think in this love, we are evenly matched. Ethan thinks I'm just an ordinary doctor, but he doesn't know the breakthrough research and achievements I've made in medicine. But Adrian is willing to understand me more. He once gently held me and said in my ear, "Wife, your reports save lives, that's something no amount of money can do. You are the real superhero." Because of Adrian's existence, I understood what true love is. Love is not one side taking and the other giving, but two people striving toward their dreams together, side by side, supporting each other. At this moment, I wouldn't doubt our feelings because of Ethan's one or two provocations. Ethan seemed still not to give up. That day, he appeared in my office holding a guitar. He played and sang the song he used to confess to me, "Look into each other's eyes, eyes don't lie." The familiar melody started, but I wasn't moved at all. Instead, I felt deep annoyance. This song is so ironic. Almost every day after marriage, he was lying to me. I seriously told him to leave. He came over directly and grabbed my hand. "Sylvia, I really regret it, I really regret it. I don't want to break up with you, it's all my fault, I didn't cherish you enough. Forgive me, okay?" I looked at him coldly. Didn't I make it clear last time? Being with you is my biggest regret. Do you know what I'm most grateful for? A glimmer of expectation flashed in his eyes, but it was extinguished by my next sentence. That there is no child between us, this is the only gift God gave me. Please don't disturb me anymore, okay? Ethan's parents arrived in time, and the two elders took him back to the ward. They apologized to me with faces full of guilt. "Sorry, my son is ill now and has done many things that affect you, but Sylvia, tell Auntie, is there really no possibility between you two? Looking at the in-laws who were good to me in the previous life, I said seriously. Auntie, uncle, I'm already married, with a husband and son. And even if I weren't married, I couldn't be with Ethan because I really don't love him anymore. I hope he can actively accept treatment and not disturb me anymore. The two elders nodded apologetically. Soon, Ethan transferred to another hospital and never contacted me again. The next time I heard about Ethan was when his mother called me. Sylvia, Ethan is almost gone, he wants to see you. Can you come see him? I was silent for a long time. Finally, I hoarsely replied, okay. After saying that, I hung up. At that moment, I suddenly wanted to recall the bits and pieces of our love in the previous life. Unfortunately, I couldn't remember anything. It turns out time really can take away everything. When I saw Ethan again, he was emaciated beyond recognition, with protruding cheekbones, not looking like his former self. His eyes stared blankly out the window until the moment I entered the ward, when light suddenly surged in his eyes. He looked at his body and smiled self-mockingly. Sylvia, I must look very ugly now, right? I didn't answer. He continued, sorry, the former me was too insecure. I strived for my music dream but got only failures. Unable to face these results, I pushed all the blame onto you. Maybe this is my retribution. Sylvia, if we could start over again, if this time I treat you well, would you still choose me? Looking at his sparkling eyes and expectant gaze, I directly interrupted his fantasy. No, life doesn't have so many chances to start over. Moreover, Ethan, you won't change, you will never be content. A person who is never content, no matter how many times life restarts, will never obtain the happiness they want. Ethan looked at me, shedding tears of regret. Is there really no chance? I really know I was wrong. I affirmatively gave him a negative answer, no chance. After leaving, I never went back to see him. After all, I cherish what I have now more. Regarding my research direction, there was a spot for study exchange abroad. The dean directly recommended me. After I arrived in the US, I discovered Adrian had brought the child to wait for me at the airport in advance. He walked toward me slowly with flowers in hand, and my eyes were full of surprise. Adrian directly hugged me. How about it, surprised? Wife is out for study, husband follows, baby and I came to accompany you too. Happy? I nodded, very happy, very surprised. During the study exchange, we also visited many attractions in the US, creating many beautiful memories. During the trip, I learned of Ethan's death, feeling somewhat melancholic. But in the instant I turned my head, I saw two figures, one big and one small, running toward me. I immediately opened my arms, embracing my future.